Welcome back to the channel. Right now, I have to begin with a shocking statement, a truth that is being hidden behind the gates of Buckingham Palace. The current monarch needs to abdicate immediately. Yes, you did not mishear that. What is happening inside the British royal family is no longer a fairy tale filled with glory and ceremony. It is the harsh reality of a man who is fighting illness, visibly frail in the latest photos, yet still being placed on the throne in a state of exhaustion. Even more frightening is that Buckingham Palace is running a large-scale cover-up campaign, a gaslighting performance that makes the public believe everything is fine, even as the truth is collapsing right before their eyes. The latest images of the king are not signs of recovery, but painful warnings. His health is far worse than what the press dares to mention. And in the shadows of the palace, something unprecedented is happening. A silent transfer of power is taking shape between King Charles and Prince William. I want to ask you, do you truly believe the morning news reports? Or do you see the truth with your own eyes? The royal family has sworn an oath of silence to protect their own image and to prevent any suspicion from spreading. Today, we will step behind those locked doors to expose the entire truth. We will analyze 5 important points: the truth about Charles's health and the call for abdication, how William is becoming the king in reality, the failures during the months of Charles's reign, the tense relationship between father and son, and finally, the contrast between Catherine and Meghan. Join me as we uncover the real story unfolding inside the palace. If we look at the king's current health, the alarming weight loss, and the frail appearance in every public outing, it is not difficult to see that things are far worse than what the palace wants the public to believe. His public appearances have been shortened to just a few minutes, sometimes only long enough for a forced smile before he is escorted inside. These signs are no longer speculation. Health experts openly state that if he were an ordinary citizen, doctors would demand complete rest, far away from any sources of stress, so he could focus on recovery. But Charles does not have that option. To maintain the image of a stable monarchy, the palace has pushed the king onto the public stage, despite the clear signs that he is exhausted. And in the midst of increasingly tense debates, one question becomes clearer than ever. Is it still humane to let him carry the weight of the throne in this condition? Even those who once supported Charles's reign must admit that this is no longer a matter of politics or power, but a moral issue for a man who has been pushed beyond his physical limits. From a historical perspective, this is a heartbreaking paradox. Charles waited for the throne his entire life, yet in only a few years of ruling, his short reign has plunged into chaos. Instead of continuing the stability that lasted 7 decades under Queen Elizabeth II, he has had to face one disaster after another. Prince Andrew's scandal became a stain that cannot be erased from the royal record. His handling of the relationship with Harry and Meghan turned into a relentless media war, pushing the royal image into unprecedented division. While mainstream media continues to paint everything in a positive light to create the illusion of a smooth and steady reign, inside Buckingham Palace is a chain of ongoing crises. Charles's efforts to control his image have not restored public trust. On the contrary, they have weakened his reign. In only 3 years, the great expectations placed on him have completely evaporated, leaving behind disappointment, chaos, and the growing fear that the country is being led by a king too weak to fulfill his role. For this reason, the solution considered most humane and reasonable, both for the king and for the institution, is for Prince William to become the official regent. This solution does not force Charles to abdicate, nor does it take away the title he has waited for his entire life, but it transfers the practical responsibilities to someone with enough energy, enough health, and enough preparation to handle them. When William becomes regent, he will carry out all national duties on behalf of the king, meet the public, receive world leaders, and handle critical diplomatic matters. This allows Charles to step back from daily work, focus on treatment, and continue only light symbolic activities. This is how both the crown and the man wearing it can be protected. It is a solution that achieves both ends, maintaining the continuity of the monarchy while preventing the nation from relying on a frail king struggling to perform a role he can no longer sustain. And above all, it allows William to demonstrate his leadership at the moment it is most needed, when the future of the royal family stands at the threshold of great change. However, to see this truth, the public cannot rely on the mainstream British media, which has already become the extended arm of the palace. The royal rota system, once considered the standard source of information about the royal family, has turned into a tightly controlled information machine. They sign silent agreements to gain access to royal events in exchange for their silence on sensitive issues. Instead of reporting honestly, they choose to paint everything in the most positive way, trying to create the illusion that the situation remains stable. But that no longer fools anyone. The public sees a king who is becoming increasingly depleted. They see William appearing more and more at important events, as if he is already playing the role of a real king. And when the two images are placed side by side, anyone can see who is actually carrying the weight of the kingdom in reality. Whether it is abdication or regency, all eyes are on William. The truth shows that he has already become the king in the shadows. And now the only question left is when this transition will be officially announced. It is clear that King Charles still wants to continue carrying out his duties, wanting to hold on to the position he waited for nearly his entire life. But what the public does not see is that inside the palace, a quiet transfer of power is already underway, a small tremor spreading wider each day. Many important strategic decisions at this moment no longer go directly across the king's desk. They are sent to William's office for review, approval, or adjustment before being executed. Even Charles's longtime advisors must admit that there has been a shift in the power dynamic. It is something no one says out loud, but everyone understands. Charles still believes he is the one holding ultimate authority, while William knows clearly that he is the one actually running the operations of the monarchy. This situation is not officially declared, and no document records it, but it exists in every decision signed, every closed-door meeting held, and every request delivered by key figures in the system. When a royal house enters a period of transition, power always shifts this way, quietly, without announcements, slipping into place through every administrative detail. Looking back over the past few years, we see growing evidence of this everywhere. One example is the scandal of Prince Andrew. This was a devastating crisis for the royal family's image. Charles wanted to resolve it gently, avoiding great damage, and tried to delay things in order to find a way out that would not be too harsh. He still carried the mindset of an older generation, believing in reconciliation, avoiding confrontation, and keeping internal affairs as calm as possible. But that approach made the problem drag on, stall out, and weaken the royal image in the eyes of the public. Only when William stepped directly into the situation did everything change. He did not accept vagueness or weakness. He made strong, decisive, and even cold demands. The most remarkable thing is that within just 1 month of William entering the matter, the entire Andrew situation was resolved completely. No more waiting, no more avoidance, no more endless delays. William chose a fast, firm, and definitive solution to protect the survival of the monarchy. This shows he has a far more realistic view than his father. He understands that an institution can only stand strong when it dares to make difficult decisions at the right moment, and he is willing to do what Charles hesitated to do. This is the clearest example of where the real power has shifted. The Andrew case is only one example, and when we mention even more tense internal issues, we must talk about the battle between father and son in handling Harry. This is where the contrast between Charles and William becomes the sharpest. When Harry kept causing trouble, speaking to the media, exposing internal secrets, and attacking the royal family with emotional stories, Charles maintained a soft approach. He believed that meeting directly and speaking privately would help mend the distance and bring Harry back closer to the family. But nothing went the way he hoped. After each meeting, information leaked out again, in ways that made the royal family look even worse. What is notable is that William had already warned about this. He knew his brother was no longer someone who could control his emotions, and that any meeting could become a weapon for Harry in his media war. William was right, but Charles ignored that warning, and the troubles that followed only exposed the widening gap between the two. Now they rarely meet in person. Most decisions involving Harry are proposed by William and handled by his advisors. This turns the conflict between two generations into part of a bigger story about the future of the throne. Because after all, when relationships fracture, when trust between family members erodes, there is always one woman standing behind William, helping him maintain his image and strengthen the stability of his future crown. That is Princess Catherine, the figure shining more brightly than ever during the royal family's most chaotic period. Another example of the power shift is the way the media tried to distort the truth about William's trip to Balmoral. The press created a narrative that William went there to attend a strategic summit, discussing reconciliation plans with his father, and holding major talks about the future direction of the royal family. They described the images of father and son sitting together, reviewing important decisions and choosing their next steps. But the truth was completely different. William went to Balmoral purely to hunt with friends. There was no meeting, as the media reported, no deep conversation between father and son. This is the clearest example of how the media is trying to construct a false image, suggesting that Charles and William remain united in everything, inseparable and jointly leading the monarchy. But the reality is that they are growing further apart. Each follows a different path, has different advisors, and makes different decisions. The truth is distorted to protect the appearance of unity, but those inside the system know exactly what is happening. When the media must try this hard to create a fake sense of harmony, it only proves that the fracture is far too large to hide with a few carefully written lines. All of this shows that William's rise is no longer a hypothesis or a rumor. It is happening right before our eyes. He is becoming the real king in terms of influence and power. Meanwhile, Charles, although still sitting on the throne, is gradually fading into a symbolic role, somewhat resembling the image of a transitional monarch. No one says it out loud, but everyone knows a new era is coming, and William is the one shaping it. As for Catherine, she is also stepping into the most powerful moment of her life, a stage where every appearance leaves an unforgettable impression. Her recent speech was not just a standard address, but felt like a carefully calculated message sent to the entire United Kingdom and the world. In the moment she stood before the camera, offering a calm smile that carried a steel-like determination, people did not simply see a princess. They saw the image of a future queen. Catherine's warm, gentle, yet crystal-clear voice opened a completely new perspective on who she truly is. She spoke about love and time as two subtle but indispensable forces in human life. In contrast was the excessive glorification of productivity and success that has made modern life exhausting and empty. That message was not only for parents struggling under the pressures of daily life, but also a reminder to leaders that true power does not lie in numbers or prestige, but in the ability to connect and to understand. When Catherine said that love is the most essential binding force, the audience did not just hear it, they felt the meaning behind every word. She is slowly stepping out of Diana's overwhelming shadow to affirm her own identity, a mature, steady, and deeply inspiring presence. Catherine's message becomes even more profound when people realize she is challenging an entire work culture obsessed with performance. In a society increasingly chasing perfection, Catherine reminds us that what makes a person kind is not achievements or praise, but the ability to spend time with family, with nature, and with the simple things that nourish the soul. Not everyone in the royal family could deliver such a message, and even fewer could convey it with a level of authenticity that makes the public feel she is speaking on their behalf. She emphasized the importance of stability and children's well-being, not with empty slogans, but with small stories and personal experiences. All of this shapes a deeply human Catherine. It is why many experts believe she is gradually defining her future style of reign, a style not built on intimidation or authority, but on empathy and responsibility. Catherine does not try to appear strong, yet her gentle rationality is exactly what makes her a pillar of stability in the public's eyes. She takes the stage with the spirit of someone who has nothing to prove because her calmness already says everything. She understands that to become a beloved queen, she must first be a mother and an ordinary woman who knows how to place her heart in the right place. That is something Meghan once tried to achieve but never could. And here is where the contrast begins to form, bit by bit. If Catherine is authenticity, Meghan Markle is the embodiment of contradiction. The contrast could not be greater. While Catherine appeared with a speech rich in emotional value, Meghan sent out a promotional email for Thanksgiving, attaching images of Archie and Lilibet to commercial products such as honey jars and gift packages. What angered the public most was that Meghan once claimed she left the royal family to protect her children's privacy. Yet now she herself is using their images as marketing tools. This hypocrisy raises the question, is Meghan truly trying to protect her children, or is she using them to satisfy her personal ambition? Meanwhile, the three children of William and Catherine are almost never used in promotional campaigns. Even their public images are tightly controlled to protect their freedom and natural development. The difference between the two households only highlights the contrast between Catherine and Meghan. Meghan has always claimed the royal family treated her unfairly, yet her own actions prove the opposite. She is taking every opportunity to bring herself back into the spotlight, even if the cost is her children. While Catherine quietly builds her credibility through dedication, Meghan rushes toward fleeting glamour. The contrast is even clearer when looking at how they face the public. Catherine does not need grand media campaigns because her image speaks for itself. She steps into the crowd with an open heart and a sincere gaze. Meghan is the opposite. She always arrives with overly prepared messages, long statements with little actual value. The public can easily sense the lack of authenticity, as though she is performing rather than sharing. This makes her image increasingly disconnected from reality, especially when placed next to Catherine, who chooses simplicity infused with grace. And this comparison has created an invisible battle between the two women. One stands for sincerity, the other for ambition, one for stability, the other for chaos. One is the model of a future queen, the other a symbol of never-ending controversy. Catherine does not need to say much to win the public's affection. She only needs to appear, smile, and let her actions speak. Meghan, no matter how hard she tries, cannot overcome public skepticism because her own behavior betrays the image she wants to build. And when the two are placed side by side, people understand why the future of the British royal family lies with Catherine and will never belong to Meghan, because Catherine represents not only elegance, but a lasting value. A value that cannot be bought with money or fame, but can only be built through kindness, calmness, and steadfastness. This is what makes Catherine the new soul of the royal family, while Meghan forever remains on the outside, seeking attention through methods that can never endure. Now, the curtain of secrecy surrounding the titles of Prince Harry and his children is slowly being lifted, and even those closest to the royal family must admit an undeniable truth. Under Prince William's reign, the titles once associated with Harry will officially be stripped. This is not an impulsive or emotional decision. It is the inevitable result of a series of events and new principles governing the British monarchy. The incident involving Prince Andrew has become a vivid example, showing that the principle of titles being granted by God, honored for centuries, has now collapsed. No one can rely on heritage or tradition to secure power or status. Titles today can be changed or revoked quickly and decisively through an executive decree within 10 days. This change is not only a legal matter, but also a clear indication that real power has already fallen into William's hands. When looking at recent decisions, we see that every action is carefully calculated to protect the royal family's reputation and the integrity of the institution. The question is no longer why strip the titles, but why should they not be stripped of their titles? A complete reversal of what the public once believed. William not only demonstrates firm leadership, but also sends a strong message that power within the royal family is not based solely on titles or bloodline, but on responsibility, action, and loyalty to the institution. What is notable is that this decision also reflects strategic preparation for the future. As Catherine rises as a symbol of influence and William's children are protected from public scrutiny, the royal family is gradually shaping a new model of power where every title and every role comes with clear responsibilities. Harry, once seen as indispensable, must now face the reality that a title is no longer an automatic privilege, but a trade-off between personal freedom and commitment to the royal family. The decision to strip titles, although shocking, is a necessary step to consolidate authority and protect the institution, proving the difference between those on the outside and those who actually bear the burden. Right after Harry and his children faced the risk of losing their titles, the power landscape within the royal family became clearer than ever. Important decisions are no longer symbolic. They directly reflect who truly holds power. And in this context, the contrast between two leadership styles becomes impossible to ignore. Charles, with his tendency toward delay and sentiment, still wants to maintain his authority through emotion and tradition. He often considers every decision carefully, but this hesitation causes problems to pile up and grow out of control. Many situations demand decisive action, yet they are delayed or resolved with concessions, leading to consequences that damage not only the royal family, but also his own image and credibility. In contrast, William has proven that he is the leader the royal family needs today. With a practical, decisive style and a long-term view, William has gradually taken control of strategic decisions. Situations like the Andrew case or the issues involving Harry all show that William is willing to face the truth and make difficult choices without being influenced by personal emotion. This ability helps the royal family operate more smoothly and minimizes potential crises. William's timely interventions not only save the institution from further damage, but also strengthen his image as the real king behind the scenes. What is striking is that between these two styles, the contrast becomes even more pronounced when we observe how the royal family manages public information and media. Charles often finds himself trapped in a vulnerable, fragile image, while William knows how to use information to protect credibility, control the narrative, and shape the image of his reign. The public can clearly see that power does not lie in titles or the throne, but in the ability to make precise decisions, lead effectively, and safeguard the institution under external pressure. This story also emphasizes an important message. The royal family does not survive because of perfection or rigid tradition, but because of the people behind the throne who possess leadership and responsibility. William is demonstrating those qualities, ready to shoulder every challenge, while Charles remains a symbolic figure, limited by emotion and hesitation. This contrast clearly shows the path the royal family must take, a stronger, more flexible institution that still preserves its core values, sustained by William's real leadership, as he steps out of his father's shadow to become the de facto king. And it is thanks to William's decisiveness, vision, and true leadership that the royal family can now carry out a subtle preparation for the next generation, where Prince George begins to take on meaningful roles, learning every detail from his parents to be ready for the future of the throne. The appearance of Prince George beside King Charles and Princess Catherine at important ceremonies such as Remembrance Day is not a random detail. It is a clear signal of how the royal family is preparing the next generation, the future of the throne. All eyes are drawn to the boy, from the way he stands, the way he bows, to the meaningful look in his eyes. Every movement is carefully analyzed. George is not just a child in ornate ceremonial attire, but a living symbol of the three-generation power transition unfolding before the public. This is a silent but powerful message. The royal family is not merely maintaining tradition, but deliberately preparing for the future. The ceremonial setting, the formal rituals, and the presence of key members are staged like an illustration of stability, continuity, and the long-term security of the throne for decades to come. If we look closer, George's presence also reflects the way the royal family operates power today. It is no longer an automatic succession, but a process of observation, training, and continuous evaluation. George learns from significant moments, from how William and Catherine handle ceremony, how they interact with the public and the media. These small lessons not only shape his character, but also equip him with essential leadership skills. The future of the throne does not depend solely on a title, but on awareness, judgment, and the ability to withstand pressure. As William gradually becomes the real and decisive leader, George watches, absorbs, and remembers. His presence beside William and Catherine is clear evidence that the royal family is building a next generation based not only on inherited power but also on real capability. George's presence raises an important question for royal watchers. Who will truly hold power in the near future? As William assumes more heavy responsibilities and becomes the de facto king, George learns to stand beside him, understanding the rhythm of power and the meaning of public duty. Each time George appears at ceremonies is not just a visual moment, but a public lesson about commitment, responsibility, and preparation for succession. Everything unfolds under the detailed observation of independent media and the public, where even small gestures carry significant political weight. The story of George does not end there. It directly connects to the necessity of independent voices in revealing the truth. As we observe George, we also realize that mainstream British media, bound by limitations and palace control, cannot fully reflect the whole picture. George's appearances, along with the way William and Catherine manage royal duties, are seen and analyzed by independent commentators, who have become increasingly vital. They are not constrained by traditional protocols, do not face pressure from the palace, and can view the larger picture with greater objectivity. Thanks to them, the public can access the real information about the power transition, William's true role, and George's position. In this context, independent narration becomes a powerful tool, not only reflecting events, but also helping the audience understand the strategic meaning behind every detail. George is not just a little prince. He is a crucial link in how the British royal family shapes its future. Lessons about responsibility, observation, and leadership are quietly conveyed through each ceremony, each event. And it is the independent narrators who help us recognize that significance. The role of independent narration does not stop at reporting. They analyze, question, and connect events together, showing how William is holding real power, how George is being prepared to inherit, and how the throne is being protected discreetly but effectively. The combination of the current generation and the next generation, William and George, together with the support of Catherine, reflects a clear leadership strategy, maintaining stability, protecting the institution, and ensuring that the throne never falls into decay or becomes abused. This royal story teaches us many important lessons. Power is not only a title, but also the ability to lead and to prepare the next generation. George learns from William and Catherine. William learns from the failures and mistakes of Charles. And Catherine uses her influence to strengthen the role of family and human values within the royal family. Details that seem small, such as the way George stands, the way William makes decisions, and the way Catherine delivers her speeches, all carry major messages about the future and about power. And it is thanks to the independence of narration that people can see these things clearly. We learn that not everything appearing in mainstream newspapers is the truth, and that independent voices are necessary to explain, expose, and connect scattered details into a complete picture. Because of this, George is not only a symbol of the future, but also proof of the importance of independent voices in maintaining transparency and authenticity regarding the royal family. This combination between George being trained, William holding real power, Catherine maintaining her influence, and independent narrators analyzing the events has created a seamless, compelling, and transparent story for the public. It proves that the royal family exists not only because of tradition, but also because of how they manage power, prepare the new generation, and ensure that every truth is revealed through independent voices that cannot be censored. In summary, through every ceremony, every public appearance, and the way George learns from his parents, we can clearly see the three-generational power transition taking place, while also recognizing the crucial role of independent narration. It is thanks to these elements that the British royal family not only protects the throne, but also conveys a message of responsibility, power, and preparation for the future to the public. This is the most vivid example of the combination between tradition and independent narration, between the present generation and the future generation, ensuring the throne is maintained firmly, transparently, and strategically. In conclusion, what we have just witnessed is not only the story of a royal family, but also the panoramic picture of power, responsibility, and transformation within the world's oldest institution. Three striking truths have appeared before us. First, King Charles III is silently but painfully battling illness, showing the burden of carrying the throne while his health is visibly declining. His recent appearances are not signs of strength, they are warnings of an unprecedented period of trials. Second, Prince William, with his decisive and practical leadership style, has quietly taken hold of real power, ensuring the smooth operation of the royal family while his father faces personal challenges. The contrast between father and son is not only a difference in personality, but also evidence of a subtle yet meaningful power transition. Third, Princess Catherine has affirmed her position as a future queen with confidence, bravery, and a human-centered vision, creating stability and balance within the royal family. These three elements together highlight the royal household reshaping itself through inevitable changes where power, responsibility, and values are being redefined day by day. So the question for you is this: should King Charles hand over power to Prince William as regent in order to protect his health while maintaining stability within the royal family? Leave your thoughts in the comments below because every voice matters when imagining the future of the monarchy. Thank you for taking the time to watch today's video. If you want to continue receiving uncensored royal news and in-depth independent analysis, do not forget to hit subscribe and turn on notifications right now. Every subscription and every comment helps us maintain a transparent, objective, and free source of information. See you in the next video where we will continue uncovering the secrets, the hidden corners, and the untold stories of the British royal family.